So let's go ahead and get started and talk about this amazing book that Jennifer wrote called The Art of Badassery. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about life first and tell you a story that I went through myself. And, life is just a series of ups and downs. We all know that. And a few years ago, I went through a particularly tough time. In all of my areas of life, they all fell apart. My business partner left after 15 years. She was also my best friend, and she left for a year to go travel around the world. I got into a bad relationship, even though he had kids that I fell in love with. I quickly fell out of love with him. And not only that, my mom was living with dementia, and I'm an only child, and I was taking care of her by myself. I just didn't have a lot of support. What I could have used during that time was a toolkit or roadmap to help me navigate that life roller coaster that I was on for a pretty long period of time. So what I love about the Art of Badassery is it helps me with that toolkit. It gives me a roadmap, and it's something that you can build upon from the white belt to the black belt. And I'm so excited to welcome Jennifer Cassetta here today. Jennifer, it's so nice to see you.
Thank you, Joni. And hi, everyone. I'm so excited to meet you all.
Yeah, Jennifer is a nationally recognized motivational speaker and empowerment coach and has a 3rd degree black belt in, is it pronounced Hapkido?
Correct.
Oh, good. Got that this morning. And she has helped thousands and thousands of women feel strong and powerful. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to be talking about what it's like to be in the dojo and what that means to life. So what originally took you to the dojo, Jennifer?
Yes, just in case anyone doesn't know the word, because when I was
let's start
naming the subtitle is Unleash Your Mojo with Wisdom of the Dojo. And I did get some feedback, like some people don't know what that word means. It means a martial arts training studio, just out there, putting it out.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
What originally took you there?
My dad had been doing martial arts. And by the way, he started in his 50s and started taking Taekwondo. And so it was in the back of my head. It wasn't something completely new to me, but I was about 2 years out of college and I went to school in New York City and was living, on my own for the first time. And 1, wanted to get in shape and was kind of bored of going to the gym. And 2, thought learning some self-defense skills living in the city would be pretty beneficial. And it was just a very serendipitous connection of finding the perfect school and the perfect teacher. And it all just worked out so magically.
Well, and then what happened?
And then I got really into it, like very quickly. So I was going 3 times a week and then 4 and 5 and you name it. And within that first year, this life-altering experience happened to not only me, but everyone living in this
world
and beyond, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I showed up to work on September 11th, 3 blocks south of the World Trade Center. When I got out of the subway, the towers were already, black smoke was already coming out of them. So they had already been hit. Not that I understood what was happening at the time. Made it to my place of work. The doorman wouldn't let me in the building, or upstairs anyway. So he said, you can use the phone in the lobby. So I went into the lobby, thank God, because within seconds, the first tower fell and a swarm of people came rushing into the lobby. Mm-hmm. I get thrown out into this, utility closet with a bunch of strangers. And for the first time in my life, that paralyzing fear just took over. I felt completely frozen. And this woman came over to me at the time, an older woman, and put her hands on my shoulder, asked me my name, which forced me to take a breath and kind of moved me out of that freeze response. And I said, Jennifer. She said, Jennifer, I'm Nancy. And the 2 of us, we're going to get out of here today. Calm, cool, collective. And sure enough, we all got evacuated from that building. And Nancy and I together ran, for hours looking for a safe place. And to make a long story short, I finally had the idea to take Nancy to the dojo. And when we arrived, it felt safe for the first time, right? And in my body, in my mind, and started to downregulate my nervous system. And again, long story short, this became this kind of metaphor, this place, refuge, if you will, that all I wanted to do in the weeks and months following September 11th was go there, get onto the mat, connect my mind, my body, spirit, work out all that PTSD and trauma out of my body, and literally leave it there on the mat. So that just became the start of building a career. I didn't know it at the time, but then how to help other people feel more strong, more safe, and more powerful from the streets to the boardroom.
It's so interesting how, I mean, that is such a traumatic event. I mean, and it touches us all. It takes us back to that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that traumatic event and your involvement with the dojo has opened a door probably you never expected to have. And so let's go ahead and talk about what we learn in each of the different belts in the dojo. And can you go ahead and share your screen?
Yes. I'm going to have to do the slide. Sorry. Oop. I just opened the wrong one.
Okay, that's okay. Take your time.
All right. No, that's right. Okay, can you all see it? I just have to go backwards, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Get a little preview of what we're going to be talking about.
Surprise! So it's a framework essentially, and each chapter is color-coded like a martial artist moving from white belt to black belt.
So let's go to the white belt first. And you say in the book, you get spiritually naked. The white belt student has to get used to being uncomfortable. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, the metaphor is when you go to the dojo, that immediately the first thing you do is take off your shoes, right? So it's almost, again, like this metaphor of leaving the outside world behind, right? You're entering this sacred space, if you will. Then you get out of your street clothes, you put on this, boxy uniform, everyone is the same. And then you tie the belt around your waist in like this very methodical, again, almost meditative way. And you're preparing yourself, you're preparing your mind, your body, your spirit to get onto that mat. You take a deep bow when you enter, onto the mat. Again, as signifying like, okay, I'm ready. So I feel like it's almost like this stripping down, right? Leaving all the stuff behind to really ceremoniously, if you will, work on yourself. And you get on that mat, which is the metaphor for life, right? Where where you work, where, the people you interact with, you're going to meet now opponents. You're going to get knocked down. People are going to throw punches at you. Again, all the things that we are met with in life happen on that mat.
So embrace the suck.
Right.
Tell us about that.
So white belt is like, okay, this is it. Life is not one long, smooth ride. We all know that, but really, I want you to know that. Like nobody gets out of this life without terrible things happening. And I believe the last 3 years was like our collective way of all kind of leveling the playing ground. Because a lot of times, at least I know, as I was, coming up through the ranks, AKA getting older, I compare myself a lot to folks like, wow, she has it so easy, or look at her, so successful. How did she do that? And then, and there we have like this pandemic that's just like, whoosh, okay, yeah. Everyone, we're all going to get knocked down together.
Right. I mean, someone just mentioned in the chat, I mean, she's joined us for years about, with Rebel 11. I've never shared this story about, I went through years of a really difficult time, and that has led me to where I am today. But I had to embrace the suck for years in order to, to have another door open. So let's go on to the yellow belt. So I wanted to read from the book here a little bit. So I've got my book right here. It's all dog-eared now. This is all about bouncing back. So it says, when you have to learn how to deal with difficult situations and even more difficult people sometimes. When that happens, you have choices. You can simply give up on living your dreams, resign to the thought that life is too hard, or you'll just hide and play small for the rest of your life. Or you can take a pause and change directions by learning the art of the pivot. You can roll with the punches or even choose to make an epic comic or comeback like Madonna or Rocky Balboa. Which one often sounds better to you? So this is all about resiliency. So let's talk about the bounce back.
Right. So again, the metaphor is being on the mat, you're going to get knocked down. We know this. So we have options, right? And the first is the pivot. So the pivot can actually help you just move out of the way of the incoming assault, right? A pivot on the mat just looks like this. So in life, again, we all learned the pivot. We all mastered the pivot, I would say, during the pandemic, whether that be working from home, homeschooling your kids, shifting your whole retreat business on networking business online, right? Joni definitely mastered that. And the second one is rolling with the punches. So again, sometimes life throws you not one, but 2, 3, 4 hits in a row. Anyone?
So many all at once sometimes.
Exactly. And so the rolling with the punches is like bracing for impact, letting yourself roll back and use that momentum to get yourself back on your feet when the hits keep on coming. So in real life, that just translates to finding your community, right? Sharing your story, like Joni just opened up to us. And when she shares her story, you get to feel, oh, yeah, like you get to relate more, you build deeper connections. You might even open yourself up to getting help and support from areas that you never saw it coming, right? Or ideas that come to you. So again, it's just about building that resiliency in that way, but asking for help. And then the third is when life really knocks you out for the count. Perhaps there was no time to pivot, no time to roll. And I use the example of being, for September 11th, that was it for me. It took away my job, right? So it's like taking something away from you, maybe a job, a relationship, or even a person, right? What do? Well, the only choice I feel like we have is to recreate ourselves over time, little by little, right? Yep. No one's expecting you to transform overnight. But that's what I did. I built myself up from the ground, and we rise again from the ashes.
We definitely do. And one thing I love about your book, Jennifer, is that in each chapter, she has exercises for you to do, and then also some thoughts. So like, for instance, here talking about resiliency, how to experience an ultimate comeback. And you have give yourself some grace. I mean, I think that that's something that we forget as women, is that we're so hard on ourselves by nature, I believe. I mean, overall, I'm generalizing, but it really is something just to give yourself a little bit of grace. Like, life is hard sometimes. And so I love that. Do you want to talk about grace a little bit?
Yeah, I always say, I know what everyone out there, I know what it feels like to give it, because you've probably given grace to a lot of folks in your life. But yes, sometimes, turning that inward is really important. And I'm guilty of this too, to not giving myself that grace that I really needed during certain times in my life, because I'm on a call with, I think, mostly all women. What comes to me, which I didn't really write about in this book, is really the loss of all these pregnancies that I had. And I just remember, like, again, this is just coming to me, not that I plan talking about this, but, almost like literally 3 days later being like teaching self-defense, after this traumatic event, or having to go to this fundraiser thing, almost like the day that I was having a miscarriage, like all these different things that I remember doing. And I look back and say, why didn't I just give myself the time, the grace, the time to go through these difficult times instead of just putting it off? And that is in the white belt chapter about how we bury ourselves in busy, in scrolling, in all these different activities to keep ourselves from really feeling the feelings.
We're going to be talking a lot about that, because that's one area I have a big, huge problem with. So anyway, so let's go on to the orange belt. And I feel like this is a big one. It really stood out to me. So this focuses on learning how to block the punches and kicks that come your way and learn how to protect yourself by blocking negative bullshit. Exact quote.
It's
So
true.
let's talk about blocking.
Yes. So again, in martial arts, we learn that if we don't learn how to block, you're going to spend more time on the floor than you really need to. You're going to get punched in the face more than you really need to in life. So we practice, we drill our blockings. Is anyone a Karate Kid fan, right? The wax on, the wax off, those are all blocks, right? That he would drill. So I teach that there's essentially different styles of blocking. There are hard blocks where the incoming assault is met with a force equal to or greater than the original assault. Or we have softer blocks, right? And you might think of like Tai Chi or Qigong or Kung Fu, Aikido. These are different softer styles where we blend with the initial assault, only to then redirect that energy either back at your opponent or out into space. And the soft blocks tend to be even more effective sometimes than the hard blocks in life. And again, each situation
Jennifer,
is different.
Can you give us an example from your life about that?
Oh, for sure. Let's see. Again, these are just little random things that are coming to me. But an email just the other day I got from a woman on my email list telling me that she was offended by the title of my book, The Art of Badassery. And my original kind of New Yorker attitude is always to hard block real fast, right? But then I sit and I pause and I think, what is the best way to redirect this energy? And I say, well, thank you for sharing your opinion, right? Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in person, I would say, tell me more. Tell me more about that. Why do you get offended by that? Right? But because it was an email, I just said, thank you for sharing your opinion, period. There was also something else that came. Oh, a woman was very stern with me the other day saying that I need to address her as doctor. She's not my doctor in any way. It was just in this networking group. And she said, I am Dr. Blank in public. And usually, I want to say something like, but then I was like, understood. And I made sure I didn't apologize for not calling her by not saying that, because it was just a learning experience. So again, these little things happen to us all day long. And that's why I think it's really, the metaphor is for setting boundaries for yourself. The reminder is that we have options on how to do that. And
and not taking something personally. Like that's
right.
Such a great example of, when you're a businesswoman or you're out in public a lot, or whether you're, sitting in your office and you have a lot of people, well, not as many times that we're sitting in our office anymore, but, or, somebody you work with or a client will kind of give you a rough one. And then it's just how you choose to take it. Like you can take it personally or say, thank you, and move along now.
Right. And ask a question back. And that's why I love the, I actually, in my keynotes and workshops, I have people do these in their body, do these big blocks, right? So, because when you do it in your body, it just feels kind of easier. You get the energy. So again, like Joni said, you don't take it personal. You're just redirecting that energy, right? Off of yourself. You don't have to keep it.
And do you ever just like push it off? It's like, I didn't need that. I'm just going to get rid of that. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go on to the green belt. This is the one that I've always had trouble with. Green belt in martial arts is where you start to find your power in your voice. It's your roar and you channel your inner tiger. So tell us more.
Yes. So this word on the screen, kiap, is a Korean word that translates to spirited yell. So again, any of my
spirited yell.
Tell me in the chat, is anyone a Karate Kid Cobra Kai fan? Am I the only one? But kiap is that word that people will yell to accentuate every punch and kick. That you can use the beauty is you get to choose your style of kiap. You can use the word kiap, you can use hiya, like Miss Piggy, you can use any kind of like, roar that comes naturally. And again, when we all get together in person one day, I hope we practice this, just yelling like grunting, letting it all out. And again, in life, this translates to finding your powerful way of communicating, whether that be to set a boundary, to present to your clients, to get into a negotiation, to stick up for yourself in any way, to stick up for other women in your life or other people in your life. And we do that through body language, through tone, and obviously through our vocabulary, both outer vocabulary, and more importantly, our inner dialogue.
I was thinking this one's so important to me because in the family that I grew up with my mom and my grandmother, and they were two and I was the one. So I was I was kind of edged out a little bit in the conversation. And my grandmother was a very powerful force in our family. And I never really had a voice. So this has been something that I've had to learn. And obviously, look, here we are on Rebel 11, and I am finding that inner voice, but I need to find the inner tiger. So I can't wait to do this with you, Jennifer, because I need to find the roar even more than what I have now. So
honestly, a little silly practice, like if you're in the shower later today or something, just start to growl. Like, okay, like just really like it's primal. I truly believe we're all have this primal instinct in us that's like almost animalistic if we needed to. I think it's really important to tap into that and know it's in there.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's go to the blue belt. This is about radical self-care. Becoming a blue belt requires self-reflection and a shift in focus from the outward to the inward. And you begin to understand the deep connection to the mind and the body. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So this is all about learning about chi. This is where in my martial arts journey, I was like, oh, what is this chi everyone talks about? And, it's the word for life force energy. It can be spelled K-I-C-H-I or Q-I, depending on which language and which philosophy. But essentially, I thought it was really interesting that Eastern philosophies have this whole belief that we have this life force energy that keeps us alive and vibrant. Not only do they have the belief, they have whole systems like Tai Chi and Qigong that help you generate more Qi. And they have beliefs that your Qi can be depleted, right? And I know that we don't have, so I thought it was really interesting that we here in the States, we don't even have a word, we don't even acknowledge that exists. But we do have a word for when it's depleted, which is burnout. Yeah. And I truly believe we're always, we're all kind of heading for that direction if we don't stop in and check really quickly and do a quick energy audit. And I think especially as women, it's been drilled into our head since we were a kid that nutrition, exercise, all of these things that keep us healthy should only be focused on our weight. And I really want to shift that paradigm, and
let's shift that
paradigm and really talk about our energy, because that should be really the biggest kind of I'm trying to think of the word,
motivator
factor, you know, that decides on all the daily habits that you have. So all these daily habits affect our energy. Everything you eat affects your energy. How much water you drink affects your energy. How much time you spend in the sunlight with positive people, like all of these things affect our energy. And when we focus on that, we can shift the focus from just our weight and our size and all of that stuff. That
I'm so glad you said that. Your book has touched on everything that has been important to me growing up as a fat kid. That's always been, a huge mental game that I played because, Darling Petrie in 8th grade said, cute in the face, not around the waist. And what has kept with me is, Darlene Petrie's voice in my head versus, this beautiful opportunity to live, with being in my power and saying, that's not that. And my energy is great. But it's those voices from the past. But what I like about this blue belt, and something that you said in the book, you'll create as a blue belt, you will create a holistic battle plan to take control over your well-being once and for all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just reading the chat as well.
Go ahead. Do you want to talk about that?
No, so Sheila's right. I mean, Sheila's right. It's from the media. It's from society. It comes from, all of this messaging. Just magazines as a kid. That's what I remember. Every magazine was like, how to lose 10 pounds fast in 3 days, like all this stuff. It was like bombarded.
And do you remember the charts that they just put, they would put out? I was like 5'7". I was supposed to be like 127. And I was like, even in high school, I was like 170. And so, here I am, this fat child that always dealt with these numbers versus like, how do you want to feel? And how do you want to be? And how do you want to show up in life? So let's change that paradigm, because kids are still dealing with that. And we all are in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the red belt. Okay, so this is your book so resonated with me. So it says, for many of us, the first step is to recognize how fast we're going in the first place. If you're spinning on a hamster wheel and feel like life is running you versus you're running your life, it's time to reassess. If you can barely squeeze in time to read this book, and if you don't have time to pursue your hobbies and your dreams, it's time to slow down and tune in.
Yeah. Being a health coach for 15 years, I had male clients as well, but I would definitely see, and actually I will say that I saw the male clients prioritize their self-care and their me time more so than women. And, again, I'm not a mother, so I'm not going to speak, I always am very careful about that, but I want to say that like all the clients that came to me that were moms and not even moms, just put everyone else before their own self-care. And it's like the whole oxygen mask thing, putting your oxygen mask on before. I just say, carving out time to unplug and do your self-care. That's blue belt, but this is really about being mindful and taking time to unplug, whether it be a meditation practice or something, is going to make you a better person. And that affects everyone in your life, right? There's nothing selfish about taking care of yourself. I think it's so important. But red belt level has, on a personal note, has changed my life. Specifically, my meditation practice has changed my life completely. I used to worry all the time. Worry, finances, family, future. And since really, really dedicating time to that practice, I just feel like there's space. There's that widened gap between stimulus response. There's this space to, tap into my intuition, connect with that inner warrior, I call it in the book, our inner wisdom that we all have access to.
I love this quote that you put in the book. I've never felt more badass in my life than after a meditation session.
It's true. It's really true. I mean, I have a whole routine of my meditation now that I've developed over the years, but in that last section, I really start to visualize the things that I want to be doing more of in the future, like speaking on stages, meeting with women, signing more books, like all of these things. And when I come out of that meditation in the morning, I've just set my day up for success. Just seems trite, but like a powerful day filled with intention. Versus
and that you're manifesting your intention, right?
Right. Versus just being reactive to everything that life throws at you.
And then Jennifer, talk a little bit about how gratitude plays into this red belt as well.
Right. So the goal would be mindfulness, and there are different practices to get you there. meditation is one, yoga, journaling. Let us know in the chat what if you have a mindfulness practice, like a daily practice, and what it is. So there's many ways to get there, and gratitude is one of the quickest ways, I feel. And I do this exercise with folks on my workshops, just 2 minutes, especially for people that say, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't have time for this kind of stuff. Okay, do you have 2 minutes? Because I set a timer for 1 minute, and to just write down everything that you're grateful for in your life. Like, don't keep the pen moving the entire minute. And then the second minute, you set the timer again. And for that second minute, you just reflect. You just look at everything that you've written on the list. And most importantly, you feel the feelings of gratitude. And that is the quickest way to get out of that fight or flight, to downregulate your nervous system, to, again, set yourself up with power and possibility and presence.
I love that so much. So one of my daily rituals is I light a candle right here at my desk, right here. And I say 3 words as I'm lighting it: grounded, connected, and abundance. And to me, that's a really lovely way to start the day at my desk. And then the other one is getting out in nature. Marianne said that, walking in nature, meditating and praying. And my partner recently said, he goes, I need to start meditating, and you do too. I said, Jordan, I do every day on my walk. Like, I don't listen to music. It's just the dogs and I, and we listen to nature. And one of the dogs wants to say hello to everybody right now. This is so he must have been listening. There's everybody. Okay, now get down. Yes, he knew it. He knew. He always knows when I'm thinking about him. And then you talk about listening to your whole body. How do you do that?
Listening with your whole body. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
with your whole body.
So yeah, I mean, the book, that chapter isn't just about meditation or mindfulness practice. It's really also about intuition, right? And
let's talk about intuition.
Yeah, allowing that space to, like I said, open up. I feel, I don't know, I'm a very visual person, so that's why I'm like doing these things, because I feel like your intuition and your higher wisdom is like somewhere up above, and you need to open those channels so you can feel really in your gut, right? That's where we get gut feelings and hunches and all of that stuff. And that is proven. That's why they'll call your gut your second brain. And there's actually more receptors in there for serotonin and things like that. So we really, truly feel in our stomach, in our gut. So listening more, slowing down more. It's this concept of slowing down to speed up. Again, everyone thinks I don't have time for these practices, but when you actually slow down and connect and listen to your intuition, you will make fewer mistakes. You'll get better ideas. You'll be tapping into your creative and logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, the newer part of the brain, when you're out of the older part of your brain that's been hijacked by stress, right? So again, it's just, if you think about your nervous system, most of the day, if you are living in your to-do lists and in your stress, you're going to be constantly in that fight or flight response. If you take that time during your day, whether it be in the morning, before bed, or even in the middle of the day somewhere, to slow down, to get mindful, to unplug, to breathe, you will be able to down-regulate your nervous system, like I said, which switches where the parts of your brain that are lit up. And when you're in that newer part, creativity and logical thinking live there. So you'll get spontaneous ideas. I'm sure you've all been there before. You get ideas when you're out on your walk in nature and like, oh yeah, right? Something I want to write about, or something I want to do, or someone I want to call, right? And you wind up doing those things, and it's just so magical and perfect. That's what I like to call in the book, is getting into the flow, right? The flow zone, where all of a sudden things are just coming more naturally to you and easier. That's due
I
to
love that feeling.
It's so good.
It's so good. So Sheila said, alone time lifting weights is a type of meditation for me. I zone out with the structure of the sets and the personal challenge of each good rep. I think that's an amazing opportunity when you're working out to just be in the zone.
Mhm.
Another really lovely way to be in the zone is to be creative, and or it could be doing a puzzle. You know, when you're just checking out in some way into another focus, there's this space that you have. Like, I love doing puzzles, and the reason is that I can just be simple. You know, my brain is not on anything except finding those pieces. And then it's amazing what magic happens during that process. That's what I've found. That's what I've experienced.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the black belt. And this is really about taking control of your life, leading, giving back, and fighting for yourself and for others.
Yeah. So again, the martial arts metaphor is, as I was starting out the first few years, I'm looking up towards these black belts, and what I saw was this amazing fierceness. And I'm thinking that, okay, when I'm a black belt, I can take someone down that's twice my size, or I get to do the sword forms or these amazing weaponry things. And at the end of the day, what I realize as I'm getting closer and closer is, sure, those are physical things that we learn, but being a black belt, actually becoming one, is really truly about leadership. Because in our school, we had to donate or volunteer at least 100 hours of teaching before even being considered to test for our black belt. And the reason is, right, because black belt is really about becoming a mentor, a teacher, a coach to help others up through the ranks as well. And that became really clear. So as I was younger back then, and I was like, oh, but me, a leader, I don't see myself as a leader in the real world. I'm a personal trainer. I go in and out of very wealthy people's homes, like as a service provider. I never felt that leadership was accessible to me, until I started to realize that doing what I was doing, teaching, mentoring, coaching people, actually, I was a leader. I was a leader in that microcosm, but then those qualities started to leak out into other areas of my life. I started to take stances for other people and places and things and causes that were important to me, like women's safety and women's equality. And the more that I took those stances and raised my voice and spoke or taught about these things, the more my influence expanded, the more my business grew. Right. So, and those are the different lessons that I go through in that chapter.
And one of the exercises is finding your stance. And then you have writing prompts here, one of which is, when I see someone do X, it hurts my soul to watch. And you say, take a moment to complete a few of these exercises. When I see someone help doing whatever, I just melt. When I hear people, places, or things that are suffering from X, I want to help by X. You know, I think that this is such an important lesson, and to take time when you're reading a book like this that's so powerful, that's so inward facing, to be able to to know yourself even better, is to answer the questions that you have in here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to talk anything about finding your stance?
Sure. You know, for me, again, my stance on obviously we all have opinions on a lot of things, right, in life and in the country, in the government, politics, all of that stuff, right? And I think this exercise specifically was to get clear about not necessarily the politics, but what are things that we truly care about for other people. And the reason why I want you to get really clear about those things is because when people try to knock you down or in the face of adversity, if you know your stance and you are so clear in your soul of what your stance is, it is like this. It's water off a duck's back. Again, as I've been speaking out and teaching self-defense and doing all the things that I've been doing in my career, I get so much hate hate mail, hate messages, not just the woman that doesn't like the word, is offended by badass, but men on social media telling me that if I tried this self-defense move on them, they would try and kill me, essentially, like death threats, all kinds of crazy things. And I know it sounds silly, but it's not okay, right?
It's not okay.
Those are actual people writing these things behind the safety of a keyboard. So again, I have to like build this in front of this stance that says, no, I have to keep doing what I'm doing, no matter what's out there, no matter what's going on, because I'm so clear that I stand for women's safety and women's equality, that I don't care what anyone else says.
That's great. So with that, you wrote this book. What do you want women to take away from this book? Like in your grandest vision, what do you want women to know from the Art of Badassery?
So many things. Really, that we all have all the power that we need, right? We were born with it, and then it gets chipped away little by little with each bully or every message from a magazine or the media, or we live in a patriarchal society, and we have to just remember that we were born into a patriarchal society. Therefore, it's almost assumed that women are lesser than men, and we just have to remember that that's all made up nonsense, right? Yeah. That we are the most powerful within ourselves, and we can have access to that power anytime we need it by like all those things in the chapters. There's nothing new that I wrote, right? It's just giving it a framework to remember that you can take your power back anytime you need. The other thing that I really want is, to remind women that we need more women in leadership positions. Yes. In all areas, from government to the local, your local, whatever, community thing. Like, we need more women to share their voices, to make decisions for other women.
Yes. One of the reasons why we started Rebel 11 is because I feel that the more women who are out there involved in the world in whatever way it is, the quicker that women take over the world, the better the world will be. And I really feel that that is true. I mean, I just don't feel like we have that ego that is taking the world in wrong places. And there's a feminine power that is grand that we all have. And it's a softer, gentler, more powerful, intuitive way to look at the world.
Yeah, I believe that women are have that black belt characteristic of helping others rise as well. They bring
Absolutely.
people up with them.
Yes.
They're not just clambering over the top of everyone to get to the top.
I love that.
There are exceptions to the rule.
There's definitely exceptions to the rule, but let's just go with most women are like that. Yeah. Jennifer, thank you so much. We want to get to know you a little bit better. And Sure. One of the things here at Rebel 11, we're all about adventures for your spirit. Whether you are here online or in person at any of our events or trekking in the Dolomites or wherever we happen to be in the world, we're all about adventures for your spirit. So we're going to do a little rapid fire here. Okay. And to get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. First one, what are your daily rituals that influence your spirit?
Morning meditation, first thing I do. And I already told you, it makes me feel so good that I come out, I have my beautiful cup of coffee that I'm so excited for. I feed my cats and I'm just ready for my day.
Awesome. What is your mission statement?
I help women feel more strong, safe, and powerful from the streets to the boardroom.
I love that. How do you stay in your light? Or the light? I mean, just in general, in this universal light that we live in, how do you stay in it?
When I'm feeling dark, right, I have things that I pick, I have like a list of things to get me back into the light. Feeling strong in my body. So it could be literally lifting weights to remind myself that I am strong. I live a mile from the beach in Santa Monica. The others, or I'll get down there and just stare at the water and remember how vast the ocean is, and that I'm just, everything else is small compared to that. And I pet my cats. Like, my cats just make me really happy. Those are some things.
I love that. And the dog goes to in this household. Finish the sentence. I am, or I believe.
I believe that regardless of your race, your background, your religion, your gender.
I think I froze. So I'm sorry. So can you start again?
Yes. Am I smooth? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're smooth. Thank you.
I believe that regardless of your race, your religion, your background, your upbringing, that every single person has the right to feel safe, strong, and powerful in this world.
And what habits do you have that connect you to your purpose and to make a better world?
Again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but meditation, exercise. I feel really good in my body when I'm especially outside, even if it's just going for a walk daily. I try to do that. Nourishing my body with good food, healthy food, and also splurging on things that aren't necessarily healthy, but make me feel really good.
I love that, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so energized, and your book has definitely made me reflect on some things that I've done and do every day in my life. And I want to spend more time with it, because I feel like by embodying and encapsulating some of the messages that you have, that I will be a more powerful leader. I'll be more in my body and able to make more of a difference in the world. So I really appreciate your time and your thoughts, and I'm very excited to work with you again. With that being said, we are thinking about putting together a workshop here in Seattle, and we would be very interested to know if you would come, like if it was a half day or full day workshop on how do we incorporate all of these things into our bodies and soul. Send me an email, put something in the chat. We would love to know that. I think that I'm just so excited to do more with you, Jennifer, and tell us a little bit about what that might involve.
Yeah. So Joni and I have been discussing what this would look like, and the words urban retreat keep coming up to me. Like, you're in a big city, that's okay. We retreat anyway, and we come together and we walk through the levels of all the belts and do the interactive exercises. So during white belt, we're going to do a visualization and a writing exercise. The writing exercise is about building out your hits list, your shits list, the terrible things that you've been through, the greatest things you've achieved, just as reminders of how strong you are. Then we're going to actually do blocking exercises and learn basic self-defense moves so you can feel more powerful in your body. We're going to learn how to yell and create our own affirmations.
I want that.
What I call battle cries.
Battle cries.
You're going to come up with your energy audit and really come up with your self-care plan during that session. We're going to do a moving meditation to connect to our intuition. And then we're going to do some of those black belt exercises. I have a special surprise black belt ceremony thing that I'm thinking at the end, but I don't want to give it away just yet.
Oh yeah, no, we don't want to give anything away. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. We'll probably be looking at something in the fall, and so make sure and look at rebel11.com for more information. Here is the information to buy her book.